Architecture has been a defining aspect of many cities. We especially appreciate the innovative designs and technology of 20th century architecture through the esteemed architects we have come to know well. These projects were done by architects that need no introduction. Richard Neutra, Frank Gehry, R.M. Schindler, Frank Lloyd Wright, Charles Eames. These modernist architects left such a mark on Southern California that most people know their names without having to study architecture. Among these visionaries lies one well-known Black South Californian architect, Paul Williams. But why is Paul Williams one of California's only Black architects we can recall? So few prominent architects of color are represented and rarely are more than just the viewpoint of one race displayed. The unfortunate truth is Black architects have not been celebrated as opposed to the rest of the said architects of the 20th century. What other architects are we not aware of that helped shape South California? Unfortunately, unjust actions were made as some works and achievements by Black architects were moved into the shadows of others, while the public were never given the chance to recognize them. But there is another architect that we aim to resurface and retrieve the merits that helped define a part of Southern California, specifically Long Beach. Roy Sealey was born in Panama and came to America with his mother and sister through Ellis Island in 1924. At 22 years old, USC offered him an academic scholarship to come and study architecture. Later in 1966, Sealey applied for membership to the American Institute of Architects and was granted status. Roy Sealey was Paul Williams' protégé and was given a spot working in the offices of the architects to the stars. Paul Williams was one of the most successful architects in LA before World War II. He had learned to write and draw upside down, as he was often not allowed to sit next to his white clients. As the first African American member of the American Institute of Architects, Paul Williams is most recognized for developing plans for Los Angeles International Airport, as well as designing countless homes in Southern California. In 1945, Roy Sealey left Paul Williams' firm to have his own practice, which was located on Beverly Boulevard in Los Angeles. Roy Sealey has done countless luxury homes that created his success, but the most well-known of his works is Edgewater Inn, also known as Seaport Marina Hotel on 2nd Street and PCH Long Beach.
I would definitely say Paul Williams is an architect that can be credited with helping to define Los Angeles and the surrounding area during the mid-century period, especially the 1950s or so. But the same can be said for Roy Sealey. I mean, he never really reached the same level of celebrity clientele that Williams did, but he absolutely took on projects designing high schools, designing college campuses, office buildings, and he, in a way as well, also is sort of embedded in this public infrastructure throughout the county and also in Long Beach and places that we interact with every day.
This hotel truly encompassed the Googie architecture of the 60s and 70s. In 1963, Sealey was given the commission to design Edgewater Inn in Long Beach in anticipation for the 1967 World's Fair. Unfortunately, the hotel's success had lasted only 1 year after opening, until the city of Long Beach eliminated itself as the site of the upcoming World's Fair. Without the projected income and increased tourism, the original owner was forced to sell the building and declare bankruptcy in 1966. In 2010, a citywide survey was conducted on the proposed mixed-use redevelopment of the Seaport Marina Hotel for Long Beach.
I'll tell you, I was a huge proponent of the project at 2nd and PCH right now, and it's the former location of the Seaport Marina Hotel. I think I joined the majority of the people in this community who were elated on the day that that building was demolished, because it had gotten to the point where it was so dilapidated, it no longer served the purpose for which it was created. It's a shame, because now that I feel like I know more about this architect and I know the potential in looking at this building, I really wish we could have preserved some aspect of that architecture in the new design. Don't get me wrong, I love the new design, but the new design, it's safe. It's what everyone is doing. There's nothing terribly interesting about it.
The building on PCH and 2nd was demolished in October 2017, and even though the process was done quite openly, no one noticed or seemed to mind.
I didn't know at the time that Roy Sealey was the architect, and then when we did the research for this building, that building was much better documented in terms of photographs, so I was able to really see what that building looked like when it was built, and at that point I really recognized the loss. That's a real shame, because that building was a piece of work. That was really something. So I recognize the loss now. At the time I didn't know.
For more than 50 years, the Seaport Marina Hotel in Long Beach has been a distinctive mainstay along Alamedo's Bay Marina. Yet such a remarkable building was destroyed, never to be physically remembered again. And though some features of the original hotel are still in contact, the character of this Roy Sealey building will be lost forever. However, that mistake was not made twice with this other charismatic building. The Belmont Shores Mobile Estates is a gated community for senior living with manufactured mobile homes. It includes a swimming pool, library, and a clubhouse. But this clubhouse isn't any ordinary building. This community is a hidden gem of one of Roy Sealey's remaining buildings, almost forgotten.
I've known about this building really since it was built, because I happened to grow up literally right around the corner on Peralta Avenue. And as kids, my brother and I and our friends would ride our bikes over here, and it was a great place to explore. And so we actually watched the building being built.
This building has been here since the late 50s, and luckily, with the attention of a few people, this building was not only saved, but also revitalized to what it once was.
We found historical photos. We knew what the building looked like originally, although some of those photos were quite a distance away. We did some research on the architect. We understood some of his other projects. And so I think we had a strong idea of what he was trying to convey in his architecture. So for us, I don't think there was ever any question that this was very much how we wanted the building to look and how we felt he wanted the building to look.
The mobile home park is unique. It started off as really a 1960s trailer park that was really a transient place, and now has grown into this unique community.
Sometimes you struggle to find out what the original building was. In this case, that wasn't very difficult. We had a really good roadmap from day one. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew what had been modified to the building, and so we always just wanted to go back to what the original intent of the architecture was. You could see what the potential was and what the intent was. You just had to clear out all the junk in between.
This building is not just a structure to fulfill a purpose, but also a marker of achievement by a Black architect and his vision not only for its time, but for the community as well.
Well, many times, older buildings are simply not worth saving. Perhaps they never really were significant, they're just old. And sometimes, economically, it's much more cost effective to level an old building and start from scratch, and you end up with a better product. Not the case here. This building, the bones were good. When I say that, both the design and the structure, everything was sound. And so we just fell in love with it and thought that it could be not just renovated, but it could be restored, it could be enhanced, it could be brought really back to its former glory.
How the building looked when I first saw it was the massing of the building and the shapes of the building and the structure of the building was not unlike it is today. There were a number of obstructions and changes that had been made that just you lost the lines of the building. In the center pool court, they had actually moved the pool equipment into that courtyard and built a structure around it. So when you came into the courtyard, that courtyard didn't really exist as it does right now. and there was this major obstruction with pipes and exhaust. So when you walked in, you couldn't see through to the water or the swimming pool. So that was a real major modification that was disappointing.
We changed very little. When we got the building, it had changed greatly from its original design. And it had gutters and it had just lots of different things on it that took away from the beauty and the streamline that it should have been. The architect saw that and was able to bring it back to its original.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I've been in this building many, many times, and the restoration has really brought out the unique architecture of the building in a way that I never noticed before. What that means for our community is we're celebrating this unique period of architecture. We're embracing it. We're utilizing some of the features of this architectural style to enhance the views of the wetlands, really understanding where this space is in relation to our beautiful wetlands that are in the process of being stored. And I think that it tells the community that we really support and celebrate the work of architects in the past, and that we're a type of community where it's not important for us that everything be brand new and look the same. In fact, it's very special for us to have buildings that were designed and created in a different era and remind us of the history of architecture in the city of Long Beach.
This clubhouse symbolizes the mission to fight the good fight for our community and save our cherished buildings and remember our history and how it defines us.
It's just giving it a whole refresh, new vision, and turning it into something that's more modern, but yet keeps its past.
Just like the previous modernist architects that designed Southern California, Roy Sealey too was an innovative visionary of the 20th century that left several marks in Los Angeles County, and it is up to us to take care of these historic pieces.
I mean, the architectural community needs to be active in preservation, and we need to recognize that mid-century modern buildings are just as important as any other period in time, and it's an education of owners.
I think it's very important for us to preserve architecture, and I'm going to be honest with you, I've been a resident for a long time, but until the importance of preserving architecture was brought to my attention, it wouldn't have been at the forefront of my decision making. And so when you have people in the community who are engaged and they share with you the history of a building like this, I would not have known the history of a building like this. Now that I know this history, I can tell you I feel a personal connection to this building. When you feel a personal connection to a building and you can envision the time that it was created, what the streets looked like, how the people who walked by that building dressed at that time, it gives you a connection to the building that you wouldn't have otherwise had.
There's just so much character and love in buildings such as Roy Sealey's, and what may seem as minuscule attributes to some, it is actually a series of very well thought out designs one doesn't see much of today. And as a result, there is a deep connection one feels entering this clubhouse. That transcendent atmosphere that is in every historic building, in every city. Even though not everyone is hyper aware of their community, the best place to start is knowing your history and how it all started in order to appreciate what has been standing on our very street for decades. Once we are all in tune to this mission, we have the opportunity to keep these structures intact so our children and our children's children can share these marvelous pieces we've protected.
In doing the research on Roy Sealey and knowing that the other building was actually taken down, not sure they actually knew this one existed. And so it's the hidden gem.
It is up to us, to not just the community, but architects as well, to put a spotlight on these situations and raise awareness, because we owe it to the creator of these buildings to preserve them and share our knowledge with the following architects so that these buildings can last for a lifetime.